Hello, everyone, and welcome to this weekly webinar with Kevin and I. I am Moneer Barazi, your business analyst and host. We go through the latest market updates and help you identify good and high potential trading opportunities while using StockTA, a very powerful tool. We've been using it for years, and it significantly improves your decision making when it comes to trading. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Good to see you again. So I was looking at the latest data. The growth in the US has been positive, I believe over 3% on an annual basis. And this is while still having moderate levels of inflation, so there is no overheating. So we can say that a rate cut is pretty much a fact now at this point later in this month. And so I'm wondering, do you have any views on that?
Yeah, I'm curious. I think we're definitely going to rate cut in September, but I think it might be one and done. And I don't know if the market has priced that in. Like, I think inflation's been a little stickier, and I think Powell's going to cave for political reasons,
Mhm.
but I don't think he's going to be cutting rates at a crazy amount like Trump wants. And I think that's going to be really interesting because Trump's trying to fire whatever the board governor was who had the mortgage fraud, and he said we're going to have a majority, we'll do whatever we want. And I actually had as one of my predictions for 2025, I said that Powell was going to get fired by Trump, and that was going to set off a constitutional crisis. So might be might be right about him trying to fire somebody, and I don't know if the courts would get involved or what the next steps would be with that. But I guess I picked the wrong person. I still think Powell's in for a rough couple months here until his term ends.
Yeah, I agree with you. And not just Powell, there's been a lot of turmoil and concerns when it comes to independence, not just of the Fed, but you've heard about firing. I'm not sure I recall correctly, but it was someone from the Bureau of Statistics
Yep.
because, yeah, they released data that was not very favorable to Trump. So this is a sticky point, I think, for markets. And we've been seeing some corrections, not very deep corrections per se, if you look at the longer term picture, but still corrections or some retracements nonetheless on the major indices. Um, Russell 2000 has been performing well despite this. So, what do you believe is driving the markets?
I think there's been a rotation out of, I think some of the large cap growth stuff ran so quick and so heavy. If you go back to, this is our main page on StockTA, like if you look at, this is kind of some of our more popular tickers and some of the more popular ETFs, like see a lot of the tech is downgraded to neutral, like QQQ, Nvidia, Microsoft, Meta.
Mhm.
Bitcoin's pulled back recently. Amazon, I mean, Google and Apple have been ripping since the antitrust thing got settled. Netflix has been doing well. But if you go to IWM and you start looking at some of the volume, like you saw a lot of volume come in April, and it's been kind of steady, but it's picked up a little bit recently. And I think there's been a little bit of, I don't know if it's, I don't know which money is moving it. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's institutional money or hedge funds. I don't know if they're all like, hey, we think tech stopped running here in the short term. We're going to rotate out of this. So this is where, I really like this tool and I really keep a close eye on it because this is kind of where you can catch those sector rotations. And since April, this has been a great play. Like I've been in and out of this. It's been a great stock. I've been a little worried about it because it is so volatile, especially compared to the general market, because it is small cap stuff. And I wasn't sure with the tariff news and, just the market doesn't like uncertainty. And there's been a lot of uncertainty. So I think it's been a good trade, but I think it's been a tough trade. Whereas, some of the, Bitcoin ETFs or Bitcoin itself, or even the altcoins, or even some of the semis, it was kind of just buy it and forget it. And then you just bought the dips without even really thinking about it because the chart lines are clear, pull back to clear support levels. But this one's been a little, you know, it's had some nice, like little mini cup and handle patterns, I guess you could call them, but it hasn't been, a hockey stick like some of the other stuff has been.
True. Yeah, it's a slow move, going upwards, but nonetheless slow. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. It wasn't a very smooth trade per se.
But the one that's been interesting to me is the China trade, like if you look at some of the ETFs for China, and I don't know what's driving this, right? Like I'm not a expert on the Chinese market. I'm not a tariff expert. I just kind of follow the charts. And I've been in and out of China since, probably I would say I bought KBA. I can't remember exactly, but it was sometime in the spring. It was probably somewhere around here.
Mm.
And I mean, that's been a pretty good trade, and FXI has been a good trade. And I've been buying more BIDU, which is I believe is a Chinese EV manufacturer. And I don't know if it's been a lot of institutional buying when you look at it, and it's been people buying large chunks of it. And I don't know if the institutions know something about Trump's tariff deal. Like this is, I think, where it's going to be interesting with the Supreme Court. Like, does the insider money and the big money know the tariffs are already going away? And again, I'm not a tariff expert. I'm not trying to project out, but I'm just trying to follow the charts. And right now, China's been a really good trade, and I don't know why.
I will agree with you on that. And I noticed that usually the chart tells you something before the news, before the event takes place. It can be sometimes a leading indicator. And I was also reading about the oil pipelines between China and Russia. So this could be maybe China managing to get energy at lower costs. So this could be factored in, but overall, I do believe that China's stocks have been undervalued compared to their American peers and
Yep.
European peers. They haven't been. There are lots of factors there, but generally they haven't been receiving the same attention as their peers elsewhere.
Maybe this is simply just a mean reversion trade, right? Like sometimes it's the simplest trades that are the best trades, and maybe that's it. Like, and I don't really. I know some people get really down in the dirt, and they really look at the granular, like, why did this happen? And for me, sometimes the why doesn't really matter. It's the when. If I can identify the pattern, and to your point, if the price shows something before the news breaks, like I was in Pure Storage a couple of weeks ago, and it had it went up like 20% one day, and that's a big company, and that was literally just the algorithm picked up like, hey, this is looking bullish, and it went from neutral to bullish, and it flipped, and I started a position, and I didn't buy as much as I should have because I was trying to scale in. And then it was less than a week later, all of a sudden that news broke, and we had like a 25% here. I'll pull the chart up, but I mean, look at that. It went from 60,
Quite a move
61, 62 to like 80 in a day.
in a day. Yeah, yeah.
And I sold it, I think, at 80 or a little right below it. Because if you look at this chart, I mean, there's no support here. So I was kind of waiting to see, it was way overbought, had a huge gap up, and then it pulled back a little bit. So this is kind of what I'm waiting and watching. But to
Is
your
this
point, if
record high
go
for the
ahead.
company? Is this the highest?
I believe so. I don't know a ton about them. I just know, I think they got a contract with Meta or maybe Google. And basically, the
Mm.
way I figure it, and I'm not a tech analyst, but they do storage for a lot of the cloud, AI, all that stuff. And the way they do it is in a more environmentally friendly way, and they're more efficient with it. So it saves companies money, and it's good for the environment. I don't know. I know they use a lot of water. I just don't know how. I don't know their secret sauce. I should probably do more research on it. But, I made I got like almost a 35% gain on it in basically under 2 weeks. And, you know, I'm happy when I can get those. Doesn't happen all the time. But again, to your point, like if I feel like if you're fishing in the right area and looking at the right stuff and you follow the price movement, sometimes, luck favors the prepared. And I think in this case, I was prepared and I got lucky.
Absolutely. And even if you look at the movement before this impulsive move, you can see that it probably broke out to the upside a couple of days before the news. I
Yep.
I can see
Yeah.
that.
I think I
Mm.
bought it like right around here,
Right.
whatever 30% of from 80 is, but this was major resistance, and it flipped, and it went to major support, and this went bullish. And I just, it wasn't a huge position, but I started buying some, and then it just ripped.
Mm. Nice.
And it's been like that. I mean, I've had luck with that with some of the gold stuff, some of the silver stuff. Like it's really been, you know, a weird year. Like if you look at GDX, like how many times has that chart jumped in the past couple months? Like it's been a really interesting year for trading. And I think if you have a good process, I think there's a lot of good opportunities out there. But if you're just, throwing darts on the board or just watching, whatever people say on the news and they're talking their book, I don't know if you're going to be beating the market right now.
No, it would be too choppy then. And it's nice to see the markets getting better after April, because we did see some tough times in April this year, and now I think the markets have recovered all of the decline back then, and even reached record highs, especially the S&P 500.
Yep. But now you have seasonality. Like usually September and October, especially for tech stocks, isn't usually the best. I read something the other day that it was some crazy stat of like 8 out of the last 10 Septembers, the QQQs finished down or something. It was like a lot higher than I thought it would be. And then when all my indicators flipped to neutral on the main page, I closed out some of my tech stuff and I just took profits. Like I'm still long Google because that's been a great trade for me. But some of the other stuff I was in, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to lock in. If I had 3, 4, 5, 6% gain, I just locked those in, and I'm probably 50% cash now, and that's just because a lot of the stuff I've been buying and has been doing well is just so high right now, and it's so stretched. Like if you look at this GDX chart, like there's not really any support.
Yeah.
And it's at 65. So like I'm not chasing this right now.
Yeah, we could see a
I've been
pullback on this one, on some profit taking for sure.
I've been long this for a while. This has been a great trade. I'm not buying more of it though. Like if it starts to lose signal strength here, I'll probably sell some and lock in a gain just because it's gone so. I mean, it's had a crazy year. If you look at it, just keeps going. Pulls back, new all time high. Pulls back, new all time high. Like it just once it broke out of this range right here, it just ripped again.
Yeah.
But the other Chinese stock I want to go back to and just talk about is the BIDU. Like if you look at this chart, like this was pretty heavy resistance. And now you look at it and you have three levels, 93, 90, 86. That'll have, I would say anything under, 10 to 15 is kind of medium for support. So 15's on the almost medium to high support, and there's not much overhead resistance. And this number has been going up. So I wouldn't be surprised if it keeps going up. Like this has the potential to flip to very bullish in the short term. And that's usually when, stuff starts to get overbought. But this has been a, great trade the past couple of weeks for me because it's, I've basically been buying here and either selling here, or now that it broke out, I'm kind of waiting and watching.
This is a very beautiful setup, by the way. Like
Yeah.
It ticks a lot of boxes. I can see.
And again, I don't know anything about this company. I did a stock screen and it popped up and here I am.
Well, I agree with you on that when it comes to just looking at the chart, because usually the chart includes at least 99% of the information. I am one of the believers in information efficiency hypotheses, that markets are generally efficient, except for very rare instances. But generally, all the information you need is in the price action, and you can make decisions based on that, and you can manage your risk when there is a new piece of information that contradicts with that, and then you can get out of your troubled positions per se. But it's generally looking very positive, aside from the small corrections and the big indices. But I'm still optimistic, and we could see some continuation of that consolidation in September and October, like you said. But I'm still optimistic, cautiously optimistic for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching Bitcoin and gold because Bitcoin's kind of been a leading indicator of where tech's going to go. And Bitcoin started going down before tech, and then tech's been consolidating for the past week. So like I look for these correlations, and then I've been looking at oil and gold, and now they're both been going up and stocks have been going down. And, there's been so many false breakouts with oil this year, and that has not been a great trade win percentage wise for me. Like thankfully I haven't lost much, but the oil trade's been really tough to navigate this year. But I look for different correlations, looking at the dollar, like what the dollar's been doing lately to gold, the dollar to oil, like, basically I just look for patterns and then that tells me, from a macro perspective down what sectors I should be in and, what either ETFs I'm trading or what, these random companies that I'm finding through these stock screens that I'm trading.
Right, right. Yeah, oil has been choppy. I had two long positions that I closed on a small profit because it didn't follow through. I expected it
Yep.
to move to the upside, but it didn't really follow through, and it took me out at a small profit. I had locked in some profits, and that was it. It didn't really, and I believe yesterday we had a red candle, either yesterday or the day before that. So it's been a tough one, but it's it's very helpful to keep an eye on the trend score and see when it flips. This is usually a
Yep.
good signal to manage your open
Yep.
positions. Absolutely. Any last remarks, Kevin, before we wrap it up?
No, I think that's good for now. I always enjoy doing these, but it's, like you said, I still think there's a lot of opportunity. You just got to know where to fish.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I like StockTA main page where it shows you what ETFs or stocks or indices are in the spotlight to help you just quickly find what's interesting right now. It's really good, and you can see, of course, all the some of the indicators from the main screen rather than having to go inside each instrument. So very good.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and I hope to
Yeah.
see you next week.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.